Let's talk about finding full text. It's a nice option to be able to use EndNote as a storage folder or filing cabinet for your full text articles. It's also a wonderful feature that EndNote can automatically look for the full text of items from a select group of sources in order to expand your research collection. The only thing that I need to caution you about is if your library gets to more than 4 gigabytes, you won't be able to compress it for backup, and it can mean that it takes a long time to sync your library because full text articles need to be fed up to EndNote Online, which does the syncing process, which will be discussed shortly. So let's have a look. If you did want to find the full text items available for your research collection, how would you go about that? Well, first of all, you need to select the group that you want to work with. So we click all references in this case as my only existing group at the moment, and click one of the records within it. I want to select all of the items because I can search for up to 250 at one time. So on my Windows computer, I'm going to be pressing Control A. On a Mac, you would press Command A to do the same process. Once I've selected my group and the items within it, what I'm going to do is I've got a couple of options. So I can use the option here in my limited icons. This fourth option here above my list will allow me to search the internet for full text items. The system can only search using the digital object identifier, such as you can see on my side panel here. The digital object identifier, as previously mentioned, is like an electronic fingerprint. Each digital object identifier code should only be assigned to one article, and it helps us to identify that content if it is freely available on the internet or in Web of Science as part of our subscription, or as part of the PubMed database, which is provided by the National Library of Medicine in America and covers quite a lot larger content than you might think for a medical library. What we can do is either click this icon here to search the web in those limited options for the full text, or we can in fact go to References, Find Full Text, Find Full Text. As EndNote works through the digital object identifiers, if available, you can see that it is reporting back on its process. I'm not going to make you watch the entire process, but as it's finding PDFs, they are being attached with a little paperclip symbol, such as this article here. If it can't find the full text, but it has found a URL or internet address where it believes the full text might be available, it will add that URL to the record. Our Find Full Text process is completed. I ended up with 54 references in my library because I added a couple off screen for further processes. Out of the 54 items I asked it to look for, it found 18 full text that have been attached to the record, and 35 where it thought a URL might provide the full text of the item. There was only one that it couldn't find any record of. If I click on my summary screen in the center section here, I'll click one of the records to get rid of all of that green. Now, if I click the header above the paperclip and scroll up to the top, I can see the full text attachments for each of the items. And when I click one that has full text, I can see the full text attached at the top of my summary report on the right-hand side. Many of our researchers already have folders of files of full text articles and PDFs on their computers. There is a way to get EndNote to import those and interpret them and attempt to make a record for them. Let's have a look at how that's done. Under the File drop-down menu, we have an option to import. We're going to import a folder that I've saved to my desktop, and I'm going to choose it from my computer system. After you've pointed EndNote towards the appropriate folder, you just need to decide if you have subfolders, whether you want to include them, and you can create what's called a group set for this import. What that will do is create a group that separates them out from our other imports so that we can work with them. I'm going to choose to select a group set. And I'm going to import the items from that folder. The imported references group shows the items that have been brought in from my folder. Some of them have got, when we click on them, the full publication information. These are items typically that had digital object identifiers or other information embedded in the file to enable EndNote and the internet to identify the content. Others were perhaps scans of articles obtained by interlibrary loan or items downloaded from the subject materials online components in the Swinburne Library system. Those items, when they're created for a specific purpose, won't have any metadata that can be identified, and those particular items are going to have to be added by you manually. That's usually when it's a good idea to open up the article with something like Adobe Acrobat and then bring across the information. So you would need to go to the edit field, and I have Adobe on another screen looking at this particular item. It's from 1994, where they didn't have any digital object identifiers, and I would need to copy and paste content across from the PDF to fill out the record. When you're doing something like this, just a little tip is to put the family name of the authors first. It makes it a lot easier for EndNote to be able to identify. And you can see that the author name has come up in red. It simply means that EndNote does not have a record of this author from previous articles and is noting it down as a new entry. We would go ahead and finish populating the rest of this information from what we had available in the article. So I can tell that from the PDF on the other screen, the name of the journal, and I would continue to populate the record so that it would appear correctly in a database entry or in a bibliography. So that information would continue to be added, and then it should be able to be cited correctly. So the pages are 143 to 165, and you will need to do that for some of the items and then save them. And you can see this item now is correctly listed in my summary screen. The imported references, you may have noticed throughout this video, the numbers are changing. Each new process, it deletes the previous content from the imported references temporary group and replaces it with the new process. All of the items, however, are part of the All References library. Those previously imported references have not disappeared from my collection. I can see down here, this was my EndNote New References. This is my particular group that was brought in from my folder, and it allows me to separate out the newer content from the content I already had. If I want to, I can click on the little group underneath and just pull it up to here and move it out of this separate header, and then I can delete the group set. We've had a look at the three main ways of adding full text to your library if that's what you wish to do. In the first instance, if you had a record in your library and the full text item on your computer, you can click it to select it, and in the summary screen, click Attach File and point to it on your hard drive. You can select a group of references or a single reference and click on the Find Full Text icon available here to see if EndNote can identify the full text, or you can use File and Import to import one or an entire folder of PDFs that you already have on your computer collection.